Can astrology predict the future? Are we in the end of times? Is World War III here?
Ah!
Clutch your pearls, grab some tea, and let's get into it.
Yup. Yay.
She excited for the world end. Hey, I'm Lee.
And I'm Ronnie.
And welcome back to Jupiter Juice, your cosmic check-in for all things astrology, pop culture, and spiritual self-discovery.
And on this episode, we are discussing Uranus moving into Gemini. This transit will occur on July the 7th of this year, and it will go until 2033. We will have a brief retrograde. It will retrograde back into Taurus between 2026 and 2027, I believe. Next year. Yeah. So it will go back in, to that sign for a little while, but essentially we are moving into a different time. This transit will reshape the world we know it. And catapult us into a whole new way of living. So let's get into the vibes in regards to this planet. First, we're going to start off with a collective reading. So we wanted to just ask spirit and pull cards to see, what message we can deliver to our viewers in order to quote unquote prepare you guys for this transit. Now, because it is the planet of Uranus, it is an unpredictable planet. It's not something that you technically plan for, but all transits basically have patterns. That's what astrology is. It's pattern recognition. And so, we want to help you prepare for this pattern that we're about to get into. So, first, we're going to start off with some oracle cards that I pulled, which is from the Star Codes Astro deck. I have not pulled from this deck in over a year. So Lee pointed it out to me when she saw my little collection. So I'm like, oh, this is great. And it really is great. So the first card that I pulled was the Cancer card. And of course, it's the sign of Cancer. And the message under here is immerse. And so right now we're in Cancer season. And so this transit actually will be occurring, of course, during Cancer season. And Cancer season is really all about matters of the home, family, intuition, the heart, things like that. The moon. And so this is a time to immerse yourself in your community. So connect more to your community, because the next 7-8 years is going to be very, very shaky. And in order to get through that shakiness, you need to connect and build, your foundation, your family, your tribe. So it's not really about an individual mindset right now. You really need to immerse yourself in, learn things. I'm reading more, I'm connecting with my family more, connecting with myself more, trying to ground myself more, because it's going to be hitting my sun sign. So it's going to be crazy, but yeah, so that's something to keep in mind. The next card that I pulled was dignified, and the message for that is strength. And I also pulled the third house, which is communication. I'm just going to go ahead and lay these out because I got a full message for all of these. Leo, under the message under that is shine. And then I have Neptune reverse, and that deals with vision. And so what I get from these cards is basically you need to be vigilant and you need to be strong, especially with communication. Uranus and Gemini. Gemini is the sign that deals with communication and how it spreads, really. And so this transit is going to catapult us into dealing more with AI and deep fakes and false information. So you need to be strong and also use discernment when consuming information, also the information that you're putting out there. Okay. we have a lot going on. We have a lot to work on, and humans are very stubborn, and I truly do believe we're in for a rude awakening. But if you're watching this video, just stay grounded, stay connected, stay vigilant. Also, with the Leo card, it does say shine, but I think this has to do with pride, because like a lot of times, I see discussions online saying like, oh, AI is not doing that much of harm to our environment. AI is not a problem, or nothing is a problem. Like we're just tuned into Love Island, or scrolling our phones on TikTok and not really we're trying to deal with our reality at the end of the day. We know what's going on, but we're trying to escape from it. And I think especially with Neptune reverse, the vision, it's like we're blinded, but we're kind of being forced to see with this transit. And there's going to be a lot of, I think with the Leo card I have here, is like there's going to be a lot of fighters, a lot of visionaries coming about during this time. Yeah. It's a revolutionary time. So stay grounded, stay vigilant, connect with your people. Also, like, put your ping on the table. Let your balls sack hang, okay? Because, like, we got to get real about, our environment and our government especially. And we can't keep living like this. And it's just time to get the ball rolling. And, yeah.
Gear up. Gear up. Yeah, the cards that I pulled were from the Citadel deck, Ronnie's lovely Citadel deck. Gorgeous deck.
Yeah.
So it basically mirrors her message. We have here the twins, the sleeper, the tailor, the warrior, the hound, and the astronomer. On the bottom of the deck energy, we have the shepherd for family. So, what I get from this, the twins, of course, represent Gemini, but Gemini represents in itself duality. So, Gemini energy is able to see two things and compare and contrast and flip them upside down and turn them inside out, flip them over, bend over, eat. Sorry, I had to do it. But either way, they're able to see both sides. So there could be some, like, there could be a lot of things like that where it's like, well, we do disagree with this, but we agree with this part. And there's just a lot of discussion and a lot of communication and a lot of discourse around things where there's not really a solid stance. And there could be like kind of a lot of gray areas that are going to be coming up. So with this, it's really important to look with the sleeper. It's really important to look at the cause and effect of things and how things are actually impacting the world around you, and like people as a whole. Because Cancer energy, she got Cancer over here, I got the shepherd over here. It's really about just not caring just about you, but caring about how the things affect things around you and people around you, not even things around you, but it's really just caring about and making your decision based on that. Because you can make a decision based on, you can make it from a lot of different places. But right now it's imperative to make decisions and take stances on things based on being responsible for your community. And I think that's what this Jupiter and Cancer transit is going to teach us as well. Because we also have the Hound here, which is another thing. It says loyalty, chains, and promises. And it's like, I heard, tell me who you're loyal to. So it's like, what are you loyal to? Who are you loyal to? What ideas are you loyal to? What, bodies of thoughts, schools of knowledge are you loyal to, and why? So it's going to be a really good time to pay attention to the details of that and cut out anything that doesn't really serve not only you, but your fellow man. Or at least take some time to look at it and ask yourself, is this really impacting people in a good way? And if not, how can I change that? Or if I don't care, why don't I care? But I don't think if you didn't care that you would be watching our channel. Yeah. So, I just don't think you would be here. So even just assessing the people around you, like, do they care about this or not? I wonder. So just kind of having those discussions and having that discourse around, like, how is everything impacting me? With the warrior and the astronomer, there could be a lot of information, again, like coming at you, full speed, warp speed. And it could kind of cause, because like, I think fear mongering is a real thing.
Yes.
For sure. So it's like, with all the information coming at you, you could be like super anxious, super burnt out. And it could happen way quicker, because even when Jupiter was in Gemini, I definitely noticed that for me. Like, I would get like burnt out and media overload like very quick.
Yeah.
And I would just be like, wait, like this is too much. So I think it's also saying like, just take the time out to decompress and recharge consciously, to first of all go outside and touch some grass, or just like hang out with friends. I don't really think it's a time to isolate unless you're like isolating intentionally, like to like meditate or just take some space and be like, hey, I just really need to take a step back. That's okay. But it's really a time to be around your people right now, or make some people in your life, or build some connections in your life, not make people. Anyway.
Yeah. They know what you mean, girl.
Yeah. But yeah, with the astronomer, I do think too, this is going to be like a time of discovery of new things. Gemini, I like to view it as like inventor energy, or like even just like a curious child. When you go looking, you're going to find something. So we might even have like some like super pivotal discoveries in our collective. Like maybe some new inventions are made, maybe like some new like, oh, we found more information on the pyramids kind of vibe, or oh, we found out that this mythical creature exists or something.
Bigfoot.
Yeah, exactly. So just more stuff like that, probably more like wild stories, and probably even like, so I know there's like Gemini energy, since it does do with the media, like some stuff around like celebrities might come out as well, and just like some weird stuff around them. So all in all, stay woke. No, I hate saying that, but for real though.
Use discernment.
Yeah.
Your third eye.
Yeah.
Okay. Unlock that ish. Ground yourself. Meditate. And that is our collective message. So now we're going to get into the history, and we're just going to talk about Uranus and Gemini, like what it means, you know, what Uranus means, Gemini, and then also just talk about pattern recognition and the signs that will be affected most by this transit.
So Uranus was discovered on March 13th, 1787 by William Herschel. It was one of the first outer planets that was discovered. Astrology had been around for a long time, since before then, and this is kind of when, I don't want to say it was when, it's not when modern astrology kind of started, but maybe so. Like maybe inklings of it started coming out. And it makes sense because all the outer planets are modern. Yeah. So Uranus is the revolutionary. I personally call it the mad scientist. So it likes to flip things up. It likes to go in and disrupt things just to see what would happen. Sometimes it's just like F it energy. Some people call it the higher octave of Mercury. So it's like an elder to Mercury energy. Yeah, it's very air sign like to me. Its rulers are, it rules Aquarius. It's just a chaotic planet. It's meant to shake things up. We need to get shaken up. We need to be shook around in a glass jar sometimes to kind of refresh the energy so that we don't stay stagnated. Change is necessary. It can be scary, but I think Gemini handles change kind of well. So yeah, Uranus and Gemini is definitely going to be very interesting, I think. Yeah,
Gemini definitely does handle change well. Coming from a Gemini herself. Gemini is it's a mutable sign, so it's very adaptable. And so I do think, I feel like this transit is so popular in history because of, the change that it brings about and how it's important. Like it's historical, just from the pattern recognition, and like it really kind of just cements itself in history, everything that's going on around it. It's with Gemini, Gemini is ruled by Mercury, it's the information, planet. And so Uranus and Gemini usually has like innovations when it comes to media, transportation, things like that. As we see right now, we see AI emerging, like as we discussed earlier. We may end up seeing flying cars. You never know, but we'll see. Like those areas is what we'll see. The most affected, and also like the revolutionary. Like with Uranus being the revolutionary planet. Usually revolutions happen during this transit. It happens throughout history. Like this is a time to be adaptable. Uranus is all about change and like sudden change. It's not just like change, it's sudden change. It's unpredictable. It's something that you don't see coming. You're on one course and then you're completely on a different path by the end of it. You're a completely different person by the end of it. And then especially with the added boost of the mutable sign of Gemini, is
got to be quick on your feet.
You gotta be quick on your feet. It's gonna be up and down. You're gonna have to. You never know. So I think this is a really interesting time, and just to, I guess we could go and talk about historically what we tend to see with this transit. And so, for example, 1774 to 1781, Uranus was in Gemini. During that transit, we had the newspaper come about, and the newspaper definitely shaped political views. It definitely got to spread information in regards to that, way more quickly. Not that quick, but it was quicker than snail mail or whatever they were using. Or stork. But we also had the American Revolution. So that's when, America basically broke away from, England. And so became independent. And also, I believe the French Revolution as well happened during that time. So that's one of the first patterns that we got to see. Because Uranus, of course, was discovered shortly after that.
So 1858 to 1866, that is the next time Uranus was in Gemini. We see railroads expanding. We see even more media expansion with the telegraph being invented. So information is able to travel even further, even faster. And again, with the spread of information, it's kind of like the game of telephone. Like people are like, wait, what? What'd she say about me? Hold on, what? Wait, I'm not cool with that. Okay. And more ideologies are born because you're getting new knowledge and new information, so you're going to start thinking differently. So when people start thinking differently, they start clashing, and they start realizing, maybe this isn't fair. So during that time, we have the American Civil War that breaks out. We have slavery abolished. We have currency changing because these wars, what are they funded by? Money from other countries. That's why we're in debt. So yeah, a lot of changes around currency, communication, and just kind of like civil things breaking out. Because Gemini 2 energy is kind of like, it reminds me of a high school energy. Not saying any of this is high school, but it's kind of like,
what he say, she say?
Yeah. Or it's just like getting caught up in kind of like a back and forth debate. Yeah. And that causing tension, and it's like, okay, we fighting, period. Yeah, for sure. But it needed to be fought. Yeah. Because Uranus, again, is the revolutionary. It brings, anytime it shifts shines, it's going to bring a revolution in that area. And I'm on the side of revolution, so hey.
All right, so the last time we saw Uranus move into Gemini was from 1941 to 1949. That's when we had World War II. It was like post-war era, Pearl Harbor going on. And then at the end of that, like the Cold War as well. We also had innovations when it came to film and media. So this is like the peak of old Hollywood, like the black and white films, the the North Atlantic accent, what do they call it?
Oh, yeah. Hey, fella.
Hey,
say, darling.
Oh, my goodness. But yes, and then we also had the first form of a computer introduced during this time as well. Just innovations when it came to technology. We also seen innovations in radar, aviation, and nuclear technology, which in turn fueled the Cold War and actually fueling a lot of, wars today, and, ones that happened in the, most recent, I said recent, most wars that have happened in the most recent decades. So, definitely Uranus and Gemini transits definitely shape, future generations. Mm-hmm. So it's a very important time, to be alert, because the thing is, like, people are basically gaining from us, or like they're getting what we put out. So we have to be careful about like what we're like, the foundations that we're building for future generations. I mean, because everybody thinks like, oh, the world, fear mongering. The world's gonna end. We're gonna blow up. We're not gonna blah blah. Do I still have to pay bills? Yes, you still have to pay. Yes, you still have to pay bills. And yes, we will have future generations that's depending on what we do today. You know what I'm saying? So
back to that Cancer energy.
And another thing that I've seen pointed out on social media is when it comes to this transit, because we have been talking about it recently, is like, the concept of pattern recognition. And it's like, well, astrology, like, are we ever going to get it right? Why does it keep happening like this? Like, why does it have to always be a war? Why does it always have to be a revolution? Why does it, if we know that this is a pattern, why can't we break this pattern? You know what I'm saying? And I think that's the point of this, to break the pattern, right? But it comes to bite us in the behind, especially with this being the United States Uranus return, because we don't change. This country was built on capitalism. I mean, it's basically, like the U.S. broke away from England, right? But we're still built on a crap foundation.
Yeah, it's built on war.
Yeah, it's built on war. So if we continue to deal with wars and violence and, not be about the people. Yeah. It's never...
The people are going to always rise up.
Yeah. And it's never going to turn out good for the powers that be, for real. It's always going to be a struggle. Yeah. And so hopefully this time will be a change. I mean, we can only hope.
Yeah. And I think that, like, attests to the fact that that's why it's crumbling. Yeah. Especially because of the Pluto return that the U.S. had, I think it ended right when Pluto went to Aquarius, so like last year. And now that Pluto's in Aquarius, it's another revolution. So I think that, yes, while you say like the pattern recognition and like we can see things that come and we can predict them, astrology, just because we know it, it doesn't mean it's like, it can be a saving grace if you follow it. Yeah. But not every one person in the world is going to follow that. Yeah. So it's more so for the people that are. That's why it's so important that you have access to this information. It's important for you to use your voice. It's important for you to get out there and see what you can do. Like, you don't think you can shift as much stuff as you do, but you really can. Yeah. So it's like the more and more people that are learning about this, the more and more people that are like tapping into it, that's what's really shifting things, I think. Yeah. Because it's like, just even 10 years ago, astrology was kind of looked at as like a party trick. Yeah. And now, people are like realizing that it's pretty valid. Yeah. So it's like, you got to realize that astrology being like, yes, while I feel like definitely the elites and like political people definitely have used astrology, it was for their gain, so it wasn't even really for like the collective gain, but now it's in the collective's hands. So I don't know. I think also, just because it doesn't mean it's going to fix your life. Yeah, it's like, it's not. I don't think it's there to, especially because, and this might go back to like traditional astrology, maybe, I don't know, but Uranus is a generational planet. So yeah, it'll affect you, of course, but it's affecting you because it's affecting your neighbor. It's affecting your community. Hello. So the collective is being affected. So you can't think about Uranus truly on an individual basis. It's like it truly is what happens to you.
and how you
Yeah.
adapt in
Yes.
what happens to you.
Yes, absolutely.
You know,
Absolutely.
and that's why it's important to stay grounded during this transit. It's going to be in heady Gemini. I'm a Gemini. I can speak to it. The Gemini is always in his head, always thinking, always is an air sign, so it's always up. But during this transit, because so much change is happening, you can get lost. You can experience spiritual psychosis, religious psychosis, like whatever. You can have a psychiatric break or whatever because so much change is happening. You can't ground, you can't deal with it. It is important during this time to ground yourself, and that's why connection is important. Having someone that you can call when things hit the fan is important because things will be happening to collectives, and not just in the U.S., all over the world.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be happening to collective, so that's why it's important to stay grounded and to stay connected during this time. So, yeah.
Heck yeah, man. So let's talk about the good, the bad, and the ugly of this transit. So the good. Definitely massive innovations in AI, robotics. If you're into those kind of things, they do kind of help out with the health field. So, hey, they can be innovative in that way.
Speaking of the health field, I don't know, I think it was an Asian country. They did a surgery, like a trans surgery, where they were in wherever country in Asia they were in, performing a surgery in like America. So they were like operating, and they actually have a robot. My mom had a doctor's appointment at Piedmont Hospital in like Fayetteville, Georgia, and they have on display this robot operating section, like showing the robotics and how they're going to be using that type of technology to operate on people. I think that is freaking insane. So, excuse me, spit. But yeah, like you get the expertise of a doctor, because people be traveling overseas to get like better doctors because, it ain't great here in America for the most part. But instead of traveling overseas to have this crazy surgery that only this surgeon can perform, they're using robots, and so they're controlling the robot in one country and the person is in another country being operated on.
Oof. Interesting. So yeah, stuff like that.
Yeah. See, I was like, whoa.
Stuff like, no, thanks. I didn't even hear about that.
Yes.
Ooh.
Like I actually saw it with my own eyes, like that machine.
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah.
I don't know about that. Ooh.
That's weird. I don't know.
You might have said like, hey, it's good. It is, in a sense. Once you get past the robot operating on you part.
Yeah.
Also, when it comes to cryptocurrency, we can see more global decentralization because our economy is crashing. So, I mean, going over to the decentralized crypto might not be a bad idea. And if you got some, money in that, you can expect some gains.
I got a little coin.
Yeah.
Bitcoin is over 100,000.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, with education, there could be a lot of turns in there. Trades are really coming up. So since we're in a recession, people are going into trades more. Definitely noticing that. And with that comes unions, and with that comes even more revolution of the people. I also know that like education is taking a turn. Everybody is a teacher nowadays and selling some kind of course. So people are going to be getting information and learning from different avenues, which can always be good because the more you know, the more you grow. Our youth, probably, as we've been kind of going through, like with education, people are kind of like, dang, our kids are kind of, they're not doing so well in that department. We could see some changes in that as well, or just kind of a shift of mindset of how our youth are taught. And even they could be going through a revolution of their own, since Gemini is kind of ruling younger people and then Uranus is revolution. We could be seeing the youth kind of rise up and speak up for themselves even more. I see you, Gen Alpha.
Yeah.
My niece, she be having attitude, so I can see that for her.
Get off those iPads.
Right. So yeah, just more power to the people, and young people are a part of that too. So I'm excited to see what things bring, because we love more fluidity and intersectionality over here.
So the bad when it comes to this transit. So we're kind of already experiencing it now, and that deals with AI and its effect on the environment. Especially, it's poisoning the air and it's poisoning our water. Especially in, they are putting these facilities where, like, what do they call it? AI farm? What do they call it? Farms? I don't know what they call it. Plants. But anyway, these massive plants in, poor communities, more rural communities, that's closer to minority groups as well, and it's poisoning their water, and it's poisoning, the air and things like that. So we're going to deal with issues when it comes to the climate. We're going to deal with issues, when it comes to false information being spread on the internet. I mean, we already deal with that now, but we're going to see an uptick in that, uptick in deep fakes. So a lot of, videos you're going to question its validity. It could be AI, it could be, someone pretending to be someone. We already deal with that when it comes to like Timbaland, for example. He was recently under fire for basically signing his first AI artist, and a lot of people are saying, he would go live on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and a lot of our friends from the crypto community were a part of his lives, whatever, and he, a lot of them are what's the word? Accusing him of basically taking the music that they've submitted and putting it in his bank of information, allegedly, and basically feeding his AI artist. And one girl actually played one of her songs and played the AI artist song, and it sounds like her voice. And so he also came under fire because he used a producer song. It's like this AI production software, and he ended up feeding it this producer's music, and the producer, he came under fire for that. And at first he was like, I don't care, but then he put out a statement. It's a whole thing. So we're going to see a lot of lawsuits when it comes to that. Yeah, we're going to deal with, I would say communication issues. It could be more cyber wars. Like the wars could be more cyber related, especially when we think about just like across nations. And we can have instability when it comes to transportation. That movie that the Obamas produced, I forgot the name of that movie, but it was I forgot. Yeah, it's on Netflix. Y'all just look it up.
The day after
tomorrow next year.
Right, the day after 2025 Tesla car.
Yeah, but like we could have issues with that as well, and then just infrastructures of nations, a lot of crumbling nations because of the introduction of this new technology, and people not knowing what to do with it, really, and how to what's next and how to function. So it's going to be a lot of confusion out there. Especially, because Neptune will be in Aries for a while during that transit. Impulsive. Yeah, very impulsive. And, you can't believe everything you see. And some things you should believe. So it's like, it's going to be a lot of questioning. And I think that's where the instability will come from when it comes to, like, on an individual basis. Because you're going to be like, what is my reality? What is that? Am I a Sims character? AKA, not AKA, fun fact, yes, we are. God is watching us. He is our... So the ugly when it comes to this transit, as we've emphasized before, is definitely, when it comes to psychological issues. Yeah. And just not being grounded in that. I think we may see a lot of health scares when it comes to the mind.
Absolutely. I can see that.
So,
and also, like, because everybody's kind of fragile in that state, it can cause a lot of, like we were saying, back and forth of the mouth, and then that leads to the hands. Yeah. But it also leads to a split of ideologies. So when things are split, they kind of want to come together, and sometimes they come together in a forceful, violent way through their only common denominator is war and discourse. So we could kind of see some civil unrest, if you know what I mean by that, especially on U.S. ground, since it is our Uranus return. So I wouldn't be surprised to see, like, state to state disagreements, or like region to region, or Republican and Democrat, stuff like that.
One thing we want to close out with is like our spiritual leaders out there, teachers. This is the time is now. A lot of us will be coming to the forefront when it comes to information, so we need to make sure that our information is correct and that we do show up for our communities, because our presence is way more important during this time, because people will be relying on us for information, and we'll see a lot of spiritual evolutions amongst the collective as well. So it's very important to show up in that aspect. Because we may actually end up being at the forefront of the revolution.
I think so. Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, for sure. So, this is the first part. We're going to be talking about Uranus and Gemini. This is a 7 to 8 year transit. So we're going to be talking about this a lot. So we just want to give you some information, what to expect, a little bit of a spiritual reading for this transit. We will be coming out with another video very, very soon. We'll be talking about how it will be affecting your rising sign and through the houses. And we'll give more of a deep dive on that. Other than that, we're going to wrap this video up. My name is Ronnie.
And I'm Lee.
And thank you so much for watching Jupiter Choose. We will see you next time. And don't be scared.
Yeah. And like, comment, and subscribe.
Yes. Bye.